movement of the swelling on protruding the tongue. Now let us proceed to palpation. After completing inspection, let the patient be in the same position sitting with neck extended and test the temperature of the swelling with the back of the fingers and then look for tenderness. Then stand behind the patient, place the hands around the neck with the thumbs over the occiput and tips of the other fingers over the front of the neck. This is the standard method for palpation of the thyroid gland. The flexion of the neck can be adjusted by the grip between the thumbs over the occiput and the index fingers under the chin. Now keep the neck slightly flexed to relax the deep cervical fascia and ask the patient to make a swallowing movement as you are palpating. As the thyroid moves up and down, the lower border can be appreciated better and nodules, if present, can be felt more easily. Then palpate the anterior surfaces of the lobes one at a time, inclining the head to the side being examined to relax the overlying sternomastoid muscle. For example, to examine the right lobe, flex the neck slightly to the right, support the thyroid firmly with the left hand and then palpate with the right hand. Note the consistency, surface and borders carefully. Palpate the tracheal rings in the suprasternal notch, that is, below the lower border of the isthmus. If they are not felt, a retrosternal extension should be suspected. Now stand in front of the patient, extend the neck slightly and palpate by Lahaye's method for deep or posteromedial surface of the gland. To palpate the left lobe, push the thyroid gland to the left by your left hand so that the left lobe is pushed out of the tracheoesophageal groove, and then with the right hand palpate the posterior surface for nodules. Then repeat the procedure on the right side. Next, with the patient in the same position, keep a thumb over the lobe to be examined and ask the patient to swallow. Feel for small nodules on the surface as the gland moves up and down. This is Kreil's method of palpation for small nodules. During palpation, first you should determine whether the entire thyroid gland is enlarged, or is it an affection of only one lobe, or is it a single nodule. If an entire gland or an entire lobe is palpable, note its surface whether it is smooth or bossellated, and its consistency whether it is uniform or variable, soft, firm or hard. Colloid goiters are soft, multinodular goiters are firm, and carcinoma and Riedel's thyroiditis are hard to feel. Secondly, palpate the lower border very carefully during deglutition to determine the presence of a retrosternal extension. Palpation of tracheal rings above the suprasternal notch rules out a retrosternal extension. If it is a single nodule, note its position in the thyroid lobe or isthmus. Note its shape, measure its size and feel the consistency. A paradox about the consistency of thyroid nodule should be noted and remembered here, that a cyst in thyroid feels firm, while a solid swelling, that is adenoma, feels soft. Because adenomas, being highly cellular, are soft, while cysts with fluid under tension feel firm as compared to the normally soft thyroid. After palpating the nodule, try to palpate the rest of the thyroid gland. Normally it is not palpable. A normal thyroid gland is not felt on palpation. Only its isthmus can be felt over the second, third and fourth tracheal rings. So if along with a single nodule, like this nodule on the isthmus, the rest of the thyroid gland is palpable, clinically it is considered as a multinodular goiter with a single large nodule. But if the rest of the gland is not palpable, as in this case, then it is considered as a solitary nodule. Now keep your hand very gently over the upper pole of each side and try to feel for a palpable thrill. Thrill over the upper pole, akin to the feel of purring of a cat, is diagnostic of a primary toxic goiter. Next, pinch the skin over the swelling to look for fixity to skin and test the mobility of the swelling in vertical and horizontal directions. Fixity in any direction suggests malignant infiltration or thyroiditis. Now palpate for the trachea and carotid pulsations. To palpate the trachea, first note the position of the larynx and palpate the trachea downwards. In this unilateral left-sided goiter, the trachea can be felt along its length and its displacement to the opposite side can be easily appreciated. In a bilateral goiter, the trachea may be difficult to feel. So note the position of the larynx and the position of the trachea over the suprasternal notch to get an approximate idea of the position of the trachea. Then perform the Cocker's test to rule out tracheal narrowing. Ask the patient to extend the neck and take heavy, deep breaths through open mouth. Now compress the swelling from both the sides. Appearance of stridor on slight compression of the lateral lobes indicates narrowing of the trachea, and this is a positive Cocker's test. Listen to the stridor on compression of the lateral lobes. This is typically seen in the scabbard trachea of large and long-standing multinodular goiters, where trachea is compressed from both the sides and becomes a antero-posterior slit like the scabbard of a sword. So lateral compression immediately produces obstruction and stridor. It may also be seen in a malignant thyroid infiltrating the trachea. Now palpate the carotid artery pulsations against the transverse process of the 6th cervical vertebra between the posterior border of thyroid and the sternomastoid. In a unilateral goiter, first palpate the normal side for normal feel of the carotid pulsation and then compare it with the affected side. If the goiter is large, the carotid sheath will be pushed backwards, but the pulsations will always be well felt in spite of the backward displacement in a benign goiter. But in a malignant goiter, the carotid pulsations may be felt weak or obliterated due to malignant infiltration of the carotid sheath. This is a positive Berry's sign, that is, obliteration of carotid pulsation in malignant thyroid. To revise, we palpate by the standard method, Lahaye's method and Kreil's method. Note on palpation the exact size and shape of the swelling and identify its borders. In particular, palpate the tracheal rings in the suprasternal notch to identify a retrosternal extension if any. Then note the surface and the consistency of the swelling and palpate carefully by Lahaye's method and Kreil's method for small nodules within the gland. In case of a single nodule, note whether the rest of the gland is palpable. Now look for a palpable thrill over the upper pole and for fixity to skin or deeper structures. Lastly, palpate the trachea and the carotids. Trace the trachea, look for deviation from the midline, and if goiter is large or bilateral, perform the Cocker's test. Lastly, palpate the carotids behind the posterior border of the swelling. Now let us proceed to percussion and auscultation. Percuss directly over the manubrium sterni or use a heavy percussion stroke. Normally the note is resonant due to air in the trachea behind the manubrium sterni. If the percussion note is dull, suspect a retrosternal extension of thyroid which descends between the trachea and the sternum and comes to lie between the manubrium sterni and the air column. Auscultation. Auscultate over the swelling, paying more attention at the upper poles for a systolic bruit. Bruit is diagnostic of primary toxic goiter and is due to markedly increased vascularity of the gland. Having completed the